Combiners are an extremely powerful asset to any faction. One could single-handedly turn the tide of a battle. Both Autobots and Decepticon high command alike would do anything to get their hands on just one more. Things that most bots would be disgusted by. Welcome back to Showcase, the show where I walk you through the lore, writing process, and animation models used in my Transformers AU Siege World. In today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at Tail Club, Fangro, Razor Spike, Mega Zero, and Tusker, the component members of Glacialord. But before we get started, big thanks to Firelord2047 for requesting this video, and if you have any requests, leave them down in the comments and we'll try and get to all of them. Now these guys are a bit of an odd one. They're originally Fans Project toys, and up until making them, I didn't know many third-party original characters. These guys were a lot of fun to make and write, and I'd love to make some more, so if anybody's got any ideas, I'd love to hear them. Recently we've been looking at a lot of combiners, from natural to drones, and even artificial combiners created through experiments. Both Autobots and Decepticons made a lot of combiners, with large amounts being made for the first Combiner War. That war was a short-lived one, sticking close to the outskirts of Cybertronian space. When the war began, the Combiners were relatively typical 3 to 5 bot teams, forming one large bot. But as the war continued, both sides got a little more adventurous, with Combiner bots like Devastator, Tidal Wave, and the Duocons. Glacialord was one of these more strange Combiners. Cybertron was home to many moons. One of these moons, Moonbase 5, was a wildlife preserve. After the wars, Cybertron's natural plains and energon rivers were gone, leading to a lot of its wildlife nearing extinction. Luckily, most species were saved, with Moonbase 5 being transformed into a recreation of their natural habitat. Midway through the first Combiner War, a select group of wildlife was taken from their home and brought to an Autobot lab for testing. First, their brain modules were extracted, all but their base functions were removed and transferred to donor modules. The modules with the base functions were placed back inside the original bodies, while the others were upgraded to closer match a regular Cybertronian and placed into new, small bodies. These new bodies were based closely on the headmasters of Nebulos, small bots who partnered with larger bots to form their head. The newly created bots, Tail Club, Fangro, Razor Spike, Mega Zero, and Tusker, were partnered with their respective beasts, and the beasts were retrofitted with robot modes. They were also given the ability to combine, but it would be some time before they were ready for something like that. They were all created with a purpose in mind, but none of them really stuck to it. Tail Club was designed to be the group's heavy, but he turned out to be a rather timid bot, often second at the back lines during training. He would eventually become the group's medic. His beast, on the other hand, was quick to rush into combat, turning into a Dedicarus, a heavily armoured beast. It would act as a mobile cover for its allies. Tail Club and his beast didn't have the greatest relationship, the beast not obeying his commands, preferring to charge towards enemies head on, often while Tail Club was riding him. Fangro was meant to be a close quarters fighter, made for melee combat, but he was pretty much the opposite, sticking far back and sniping. He was extremely skilled in his craft, going so far as to have sights fitted into his optics, rather than having one on his weapons. His beast, a saber-toothed tiger, stuck close to him, hidden from sight, and pouncing on any bot who tried to take out Fangro. Razor Spike was planned to be the group's warrior, just a fighter who could slip into any spot required. But he preferred charging forward, straight to the enemies and taking them on head on, and his beast, a woolly rhino, was more of a pack mule for the group, carrying their supplies. This became a bit of a problem when it came to transforming, leading to a good few incidents of Razor Spike destroying supplies to get into a fight faster. Tusker was made to be the group's leader, being larger with a lot of weaponry that was rather complex to use, but he turned out to be a rather dull bot. He became the group's heavy, but with how complex his weaponry was to use, he could just as easily lock onto friendlies. His beast, a mammoth, was strangely better at using his weapons than he was. Closer to a tank than a beast, it would slowly walk through battles, firing volleys of missiles at any Decepticon it could see. Finally, Mega Zero. They were made to be the group's scout, but they ended up taking up leadership of the group. They were good in their position, but with how disjointed the group was at times, it could be quite hard to keep them under control. His beast, an elk, was similar, rallying the other beasts in combat, Although it was weak, it could still handle itself, dodging attacks with its light frame and speed, and stabbing bots with its antlers. With how much the Glacial bots changed from their original plans, the combined form was rather strange. Usually, a bot spot in a combiner would make sense, the leader being the torso, heavy bots as legs, and lighter bots as arms, but the group's odd spots in their combined mode was actually an advantage. With how standard combiners had become, their weak spots had become very well known. Target the body, and you take out the brains. But in their combined form, Glacialord, Megazero formed an arm, so in a fight, enemies would target fire on Tusker, leading to Glacialord coming out on top in most battles. They had a few close calls during the war, but they managed to survive. After the war, when documents regarding his creation were declassified, most Cybertronians were disgusted, some with the methods of the creation, some with the group themselves. Regardless of whether bots feared them, resented them, or felt petty for them, they stuck out regardless of where they went. Eventually, they left Cybertron for one of its colonies, Eucharis. They were some of the few outsiders allowed to live outside the colony's designated Autobot bases and embassies. But even on a planet of beast swarmers, they were still outsiders. They retreated to the planet's Arctic regions and stayed there for many years. Wars would pass by, but they would never intervene, till the group eventually went offline, living a long life in their newfound peace. Just like every Cybertronian, they appeared on Siege World, but we haven't seen them yet. Like other headmasters, their heads and bodies have been separated. Maybe they'll reunite in a future episode, or maybe they'll be content living a new life, away from the spotlight. But we'll just have to wait and see. For the writing process, I didn't really stick to the original bios and I just made it up from scratch. I got the idea for the group's origins when I was rewatching Transformers 1, with the scene with the Cybertronian wildlife, along with the Dinobots from G1, Animated, and War for Cybertron. I got the idea for the bots and beasts being separate from War for Cybertron Grimlock, with his dino mode being like a rage power-up. For their personalities, they're all just pretty typical Autobots and don't really have any special inspirations. Moving on to weapons, Fangirl has his cannon, Tail Club has his club, Razor Spike has his drill launcher, Tusker has his cannon, Megazero has their sword, and Glacialord has their missile launchers. Finally, transformations, starting with Fangirl. Land flat, head in, arms into place, legs up, front beast legs down, back legs down, head out, his cannon can form a tail, and his rider can ride him. Next, Tail Club, land flat, head in, arms in, legs up, front legs down, back legs down, tail out, head out, his club can connect to his tail, and his rider can ride him. Next, Razor Spike, lay him flat, head in, arms in, legs in, back legs down, front legs down, head out, his drill launcher can form a tail, and his rider can ride him. Next, Tusker, lay him flat, head in, arms in, legs up, back legs down, front legs down, head out, unfold the trunk and tusks, his cannon can fill out his beast mode, and his rider can ride him. Finally, Megazero, lay them flat, head in, arms in, legs up, front legs down, back legs down, head out, and his rider can ride them. And just like all my other commanders and headmasters, Glacialords and the heads are separate models. Anyway guys, that's the Glacial bots. I had a lot of fun working on these bots, and I would like to do some spotlights on them in the future, so we might see something for them soon. For what's coming up, right now I'm working on some new Energon models. I'm filling a few holes in the series, but we still have a few big names to get done later on. And I'm also working on some new bases. And both of those should be going out soon. For videos, on Sunday we have another writer's room. On Wednesday we'll be having another rant video. And on Friday we'll be swinging back around to take a look at some more model Autobots. That's all from me. I'll see you guys in the next video.